Batman references out of my, hey, everybody.
Paul told me to put on a Batman mask, and then I'd have half a...
Well, because your eye's all dark. You know how they always, they put makeup in there or whatever.
It is improving. If you go back and watch Monday's episode, it's more purple. Now we're streamlining towards that yellow.
You're getting that yellowing effect?
Yep, that's where we're headed.
That's a good look, you know?
That is. It's attractive. My wife is very pleased with me. And I just say, aren't kids great?
They're the gift that keeps on giving, Brad. I keep telling you this, the highest highs and the lowest lows. I'm thinking on the spectrum, this one's about a 2.
Well, I've made sure to document it to bring it up on her wedding day. So we'll, there's nothing like a little passive aggressive.
Just a warning to her future husband. She likes to sleep perpendicular to the bed. Yeah.
So, Paul, I'll file this one under alarming and annoying.
Okay.
So, there's a new Sonos soundbar coming out called The Ray. That's not the annoying or whatever part. It's supposed to be like an even lower entry-level thing than the Beam. Whatever.
Which makes it kind of uninteresting to me. But yes.
Yeah. But anyways, according to the same source who's leaking that, which is actually coming from The Verge, they're also planning to launch their own voice assistant, which is something I have zero idea why I'd ever want or need, or why the market said, you know what we need, Paul? Another
more talking
Bixby.
To things. It's bad enough people walk around like insane people talking into the air, Now we get more opportunities to do that at home. So I tested this on Sonos. I'm sure you did too. Like when they added, whatever, Google Assistant support. And I turned it off. I don't use that. And I am not a big fan of proprietary voice things, But I did look at that, report, and of course the one thing I see in there, which is, I'm always on the wrong end of like corporate battles, I use Sonos all the time, as you know, and I use what used to be called Google Play Music, which is now called YouTube Music. Google is being sued very effectively by Sonos right now. So if you look at the list of compatible services, you'll notice something that is not on that list. Now, it doesn't impact me, right? Because I'm not going to use the voice anyway. But I've also gotten into the situation, like I'm going to guess, I think we've talked about this, but I'm guessing, use Spotify and use Spotify to control Sonos, because that's one of those neat things you can do.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So I used to do that with Google Play Music. That was back before they started fighting. And they switched over to YouTube Music, and now they're fighting, and that capability is not available to me. And that really stinks, because I don't like the Sonos app. And I really do like the YouTube Music app, and I'd like to use that to control Sonos, and I can't. And that is really upsetting to me. And so this, like, I don't care about this feature, but this is an indication of where this relationship's at. Like, they're going to kind of harm their collective customers because they can't get it together. You know, it's just, to me, that's the real tragedy here. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was a point where I was like, oh, these voice assistants are great, and now I can't get rid of them fast enough and mute them fast enough.
I find voice to be so ponderous,
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Yeah, the dream was always, you say something and it happens. That's fine, okay. I find it slow. I don't find it accurate. But the next step was always this conversational capability. You'd say something, it would respond. You'd say something back, and it would understand the context. And there were probably examples of that working well. But I do simple things like, we have a smart display, Google Smart Display. So it's basically just a glorified photo slideshow. That's almost all we use it for. And I love it. And I mentioned that weird coincidence. I had gone back yesterday looking for, it's not a coincidence, that weird, circumstance where I went and looked for some old photo, and now I'm seeing all kinds of photos from the 80s, right? All kinds of photos. Well, unfortunately, in the 1980s, I was not married to my wife, and I'm starting to see a lot of my ex-girlfriends on this thing. So, nobody wants that.
Yep.
So,
nobody's winning.
I know, it's not good. So one of the things I can do is say...
Just hold on. The beauty of this is, I imagine your wife just walking around seeing a picture of you going, it's not me.
Dude, just this morning. No, this happens. This has happened, like several times this week, right? So this morning, my wife sits at the counter and she drinks coffee and she reads the news on her phone. I sit in the sunroom and I do the same thing on an iPad, whatever. But I walk into the kitchen to make coffee. So I have to walk by her and I'm making coffee, and I look down to the right. There's a picture of me at a prom with some girl, like in the 1980s, right? And I'm like, So I can't do what I want to do, which is what, is say the thing you could do to get rid of it, because it's like I'm about to describe how ponderous this is, which is the point of this conversation. But I look at the picture, I look at my wife, I look at the picture, and I realize she's just sitting there taking it. You know what I mean? Like, it's unfair because I do all the tech.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, my photos are more predominant, on everything. It's just, it's one-sided. It's not right. But anyway, the point of this is I have to say, hey, G, don't display this photo. And God help you, by the way, if it's showing two photos side by side, because then you have a whole nother series of steps. And then it asks you. It says, okay, Paul, would you like to delete the photo? Are you sure? And like what I want to do, I want to get through this as quickly as possible. I just want you to delete the freaking, I want you to never show this thing again. Yes. 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 And you can't. You have to wait for her to finish talking. You can't. And there's a button on the thing that says yes, and you can tap it all you want. It's not going to do anything. You have to wait. And I find that to be so frustrating. If anything, I should be able to touch the screen, have some controls come up, delete, no, show, but whatever, and just do it. Just do it. Maybe this is a type A problem. I don't know.
So you doing all right over there? Sounds a little.
It's like Google Assistant is like a Pennsylvania driver, and it's like, don't you, the car in front of me, you're going somewhere, aren't you? It seems like you're heading in a direction, but you're not moving really. Don't you want to get to the place you're going? No, is that too on point? I don't know. It's frustrating. The point is,
I've never noticed.
Google, or not Google, all voice assistants, tedious.
Yeah,
they're great for like if like my stepmother, for lack of a better term, was aging and not doing well. My mother does this. They talk to these cylinders in their kitchens, and they right. They don't know what it is. They play music. They listen to the news. They hear the weather. They get to hear jokes. I think for people like that, actually, there's some great benefit.
Yeah.
And maybe someday I'll appreciate this. I'm sure I'll be yelling at the cylinder. 20 years, that'll be my life, yelling at the cylinder.
That's what I keep wanting to call it, the colander, because it's in the kitchen.
Why are you yelling at the? Yeah, I'll be yelling at like an object, and someone will be like, this thing is just everywhere in the air now. I don't know why you keep focusing on this cylinder-shaped object. It'll just be some distant memory that I had.
The cast iron Alexa.
Right, the steam-powered Alexa.